Cameraman Grades, cameramangrades.com. How to film football training and professional consultations for camera operators, video coordinators, and sports video experts at all levels. Find us at cameramangrades.com or contact us directly at cameramangrades@gmail.com to improve your team's sports video. Currently looking for the best camera operator of the 2025 NFL season, these are the best of the best, and we are putting it to the test. Today we're looking at the Cleveland Browns versus the Green Bay Packers, Week 3 of 2025. We're going to jump right into it. Okay, zooming out to see everybody in the shot. Let's just take a quick look at the widest point here. Right here. Okay. We got to the back of the end zone on this side. It's fine to see that. I'm really mainly concerned to see where the ball actually lands. We got a little bit of space behind the kicker, but let's see if they keep the kicker in the shot the entire time. Yep, we're all 22. There's a lot of space back here, so if we can keep zooming in at the same speed as the returner coming forward, you're going to get a much tighter shot in this look, in this view here, right? And that's important to all these players coming down the field. All right, good setup to start, within 5 yards behind the quarterback, behind the running back there, and then the safety comes back to fill in that space. No reason to zoom out. We'll stay in there. See what happens. Okay. Run recognition, if you can, anticipate it going straight forward out of that formation, and then see it as soon as it happens, can make a difference. But on the whole, we're looking really good so far. Pass to the far side, sideline to sideline. So top to bottom looked really good. All right, a lot of safety movement here pre-snap, and looks really good. Keeping everybody in the shot. A few plays in a row there where the safeties are moving all over the place back there. Okay, filling in that frame. All right, so how quickly does the ball get released? Just watch the quarterback. Just dish it off, right? Once he dishes it off, you just gotta see it. Right there. He's the guy we're focusing on this edge anyway. We got guys on this edge, so to continue to zoom out, all you're doing is just gaining so much space, and everybody just becomes smaller than the arrow on my screen, right? I can't see any detail, I can't see any numbers at this distance. So right there, like, stop your zoom. You're still within 6 yards, 5 yards here, 5 yards there. Stop your zoom. This guy's going to start to come in. Now you can start to zoom in, but instead of zooming out, now you've got 10 plus yards, 15 one direction, and then you're continuing to keep space back there. Now we're starting to come in, but the recognition of what's actually happening on the field goes a long way. All right, 3rd and 1. Gonna go straight ahead and get a first down. Yep, pretty common. Okay, some good old hand fighting down there at the bottom. All right, nice work. We just kind of understand the situation and the tendencies and the statistics behind it. It's not necessarily that it's going to be a run on 3rd and 1 every single play, but the statistics would bear out that they're gonna just try to keep the ball on the ground and just pick up 1 yard. All right, so here, kind of the same situation, right? So much space. Let's just put it in the box just to make sure. Where could it be if we really got tight on it? What about there? So you're really only using 70% of your frame. Um, if we're watching football and I want to see what's going on the field, I want to see more football, less grass. So okay. All right, top to bottom, they're going sideline to sideline. And what I like about that is at the top of the frame, they're not going any higher than the chains. So that looks really good up there. Similar situation here. You see they're just barely showing the sidelines there. All right, so they got to zoom out here to pick up where the ball lands, and then they don't go too wide. They keep it in tight and then zoom back in. Love it. Nice work. All right. First series out of the way. Let's see if we can tighten up from here. Okay. Well, that works. Definitely room to get tighter, but they remained consistent from the beginning to the end, within 10 yards. Okay. Similar situation here. You got 6 yards behind the running back. Not really anything that's going to happen there. And then if you're going to have 6 yards behind the running back, don't make it 7. Don't make it 8. Don't make it 10. If you're starting at 6, you can remain consistent or let people fill into this space. Would go a long way. And then the safety has even less space on this side. So here we're going to 7. Now we're going to 8. Now we're going to 9. And just zooming out. But why all the actions here on the field? Let's see those players. Don't just zoom out to the widest point. Okay. All right. So here, starting with the extra space behind the quarterback, right? You can see how much, that's a third of your space to that line. So we're already starting out with a considerable amount of space back here. The farthest person to the right is actually this receiver, so you can drop the edge of the frame right here on the back of his heels. Most of the time he's going to be going this way and not this way. There are some plays that happen here. There are some plays where he'll take a step back, maybe a throwback, toss back, or whatever. It's so rare that you don't necessarily account for that every single play. You just adjust to it when it happens. Okay, the 99% of the time it's going this direction, this way. Okay, and so you can put the frame right on the edge, and with a 2-step drop, he's going to be right at the 15. Let's see where he actually drops to. 2-step. Okay, now he's scrambling, right? Now we would actually pull back with this to see a little bit of that. Or you can just put it on the 10 to start, right? I like to stay tighter and make adjustments as needed, but some people like to just leave that space off and let people fill the space, which is fine. Go ahead and let them fill that space, but don't zoom out from there just to gain more space, right? All right, we're punting, okay? Space behind the punter will never get used for anything ever. Okay, lot of crowd, a lot of space here. Is there anything we can do to cut this down? I mean, you can cut the punter out, which is pretty typical in most scenarios, to avoid seeing 30 rows of crowds. I mean, not just rows, but sections, entire sections of crowd, right? Just to be able to see this, if you can cut this down and put it more into this frame. Okay. right there. And let's just say, you know, we have to continue to give more space to this side, which makes sense. Um, your 75% of your frame would be, you know, coming in another 25% to include only the players that are really going to get engaged here. In most cases, the punter punts the ball and then just kind of walks off the field, right? If the punter is going to get involved, he's going to get involved in this area, which he doesn't. Okay. All right. Okay. Just keeping a lot of space along the edges, right? Which is fine. You've got the extra space, but then every little adjustment that, you know, any change of direction from these players is just going to mean you got, you know, now we've got all that grass, right? If you can stay tight to them, then, you know, we see more of the play. All right. Okay. Behind the quarterback to the back of the end zone. You know, ball's on the 11-yard line. We could go to the goal line and still have plenty of room for him to really drop back or anything going on back there. But having that much space all the way, you know, into this part of the end zone, completely unnecessary. There's that safety filling that edge again. A lot of pre-snap movement. Okay. Okay. Third and 4. All right. Top to bottom looks good. Again, limiting the amount of space you leave at the top only to the chains makes a lot of sense. All right. Punts away. Whoa. Okay. So I always say the most important thing to get is the returner, you know, to see where the ball lands for punt statistics. But then, you know, to add 20 yards behind him is a lot. You know, within reason, it makes sense to just zoom out to make sure that you get it. But at some point, you know, you should say like, okay, that's far enough. I can clearly see that the returner is now on the screen. All right. Okay. Run recognition, seeing that it's going straight ahead and then coming back in. All right. Okay. Again, just recognizing what's going on the field, right? One step, quick toss out to the side. All right. So you've got all this space. There's no reason to zoom out. You let everybody fill in that frame, fill in the extra gap that you have. You already have, you know, 10 yards in each direction. By zooming out, you're just adding more to it. Unless they're running, you know, running up the field and you really need to use that space. Totally fine. Totally understandable to do it that way. All right. All right. We're tight here. 2 yards behind the safety and a quick toss outside. Okay. That works. Oh. Oh. Um what was the reason to zoom out? Like, we're right here. Oh, okay. I mean, let's make sure we have 15 yards behind the safety. Not really. Another 10 yards to behind the quarterback. That's not really necessary. These guys are doing nothing. Okay. All right. And then zooming in. Okay. So yeah, just to start, if you can start much tighter than that, um, I didn't see any reason to just say, oh, there's people on the field. I need to zoom out even farther from here. Same thing here. Okay, so the past two plays we've had 15 yards behind the safety. Here we have 5, right? So what's the difference? What, if we're going to remain consistent from one play to the next, why did we zoom out, have 3 times as much space behind the safety on the last 2 plays in a row compared to this play? It's 5 yards in both directions. That's fine. That's great. This is completely usable footage for coaching evaluations. I'm just wondering why the change for the past 2 plays to add an extra 10 yards behind the safety. Beautiful. Let's do that. Let's do that every play. I mean, I'm counting that as fantastic. Okay. About 8 yards behind the quarterback, 3 yards behind the safety. I would flip that if you're going to have space, on one side or the other. Put it on the side that the guy's going to be dropping back with any deep routes. Quarterback, a reasonable amount of drop space makes sense. But if you're going to zoom out from there just to see midfield, let's see what the logo in the middle of the field looks like. It's a helmet. Okay. That's just what I was guessing it was going to be. So 15 yards behind the safety, zooming out to make sure that we see the Browns helmet in the middle of the field, and then just leaving all the extra space along the edges. Okay. Just a lot of space. Okay. Within 10 yards, both directions. Run recognition. Right. If you got 10 yards, you got 6 yards here, 7 yards there. Right. This, as far as an indicator as to where the play is going, this safety does not even take a step backwards, right? And so zooming out, the reason for zooming out is to keep the safety in the shot. If he doesn't need to do that, if he doesn't need to back up at all, to do his job, we don't need to back up at all to do our job. All right. Within 5 yards, both directions. Let's do this. Okay. Run recognition, keeping these guys in the shot, perfectly fine decision. I love it. Top to bottom, they were spreading, both directions. Let's keep them in the shot and see what they do. I'm fine with that. We don't have to cut them out just to be tighter. We can keep all 22 guys in the shot because it's an all 22. Okay. Right here, we're at the quarterback's, heels are at the 21, 22 yard line. So 10 yards would be here. We're good there. Probably about 7 yards behind the safety. All right. Let's see just how we can use that amount of space to. Okay. Just started zooming out. Okay. No play. Doesn't even count. Okay. You can have the best shot in the world if the play doesn't even count. We'll just move on. All right. Okay, so the farthest guy on the left is at the top of the frame, and then the quarterback takes that space. Great. That works. This is a decent result for what just happened on the field. All right, but that brings up 4th and 9, which I'm thinking we're kicking a field goal. All right. Special teams, perfect setup, no movement. Excellent. Get it right to start and just leave it. Let everybody play the game, and we're going to show what they did on the field. I love it. All right. See what we can do. The same thing with the kickoff. Now we're going to zoom out to make sure everybody stays in the shot. Make sure we see where the ball lands. Way out the back of the end zone. And then bringing it back in tight. I like it. Looks good. Okay. All right. Space. Do we got space? We do have extra space. Okay. Run recognition. It works. Okay. We can recognize that the ball is clearly just a run going away from us and not zoom out at all. That makes a ton of sense, and it's going to help keep things tight. All right, we got 5 yards both directions. Less than 5 yards. Okay, again, that run recognition. The sooner we can catch on, the better. Right. There was no routes going deep, nothing pressing the edges. So if you got the 5 yards, just use it, pulling the ball down and throwing. All right. All right. Little play action. You saw it all day, right? I don't know. I see this as play action, and then you can just see the quarterback changes, his demeanor between when he hands the ball off and when he pulls it back and he's going to throw. So, but look at that. 3 yards, 4 yards, 7 yards total, right? And that's nice and consistent. And then just recognizing that the guy with the ball on the edge of your frame is releasing it at this point. So any more zooming out past then is just going to gain more space. Okay. All right. It's close. Close, and it's still usable. All right, let's move on. What we got here? 7 yards, 5 yards. Run. Okay. It's a run coming at you. Everybody's going to fill this frame pretty easily. All this space, right? When you look at your screen and you're looking through the camera and you're seeing all this extra space up here, and it's a run coming this direction, and everybody's running to that one spot, wouldn't you just expect that you don't have to zoom out to gain extra space then? Right? It just makes all this extra space that's completely unnecessary. And at the expense of, who is this? Right? Who's this? What's going on down here? I can't really see it. I think that's 24. Okay? He's engaged with this, yep, there's definitely something going on. Yep, that's 24 and 3, right? Specifically the Browns jerseys, these numbers are kind of hard to see on orange on brown, right? If you zoom out to here, completely unreadable, right? Right. I could see one number here out of all 22 guys. I'd love to be able to see more detail out of that. All right. Okay. Nice. All right, right to the edge. Let's go. Yes. Okay. Are we capable of keeping up with the safety? Yeah, he's right here. It's awesome. Okay. Dropping back, right to the edge. Right to the edge. We're staying with him. That's what we do. Yeah, 5 yards behind the quarterback, 2 yards behind the safety. Okay, now we're zooming in. Still all 22. Still tight. Right? Where's this been all game? Let's do this all game long. We can do that. Oh, okay. Okay. 2/3. an entire third of your frame is used for 2 players, right? You know, it looked good here. You know, we got within 10 yards. That's decent. But what is this? You know, receiver here. Okay, we can zoom out to keep up with him, or we can just bring the entire frame down since he just left this space, right? You know, to add an extra 10 yards behind the quarterback doesn't make a ton of sense. Okay. Ultimately, they ended up using that 10 yards fairly well to let the quarterback fill in that space. All right. Okay. Looks good. You know, sideline to sideline. If at some point you just have to go out wide, just keep it sideline to sideline and keep everybody in the shot. Makes sense. Okay, we can cut out this extra space behind the punter. Still have extra space behind the punter. How long do we keep extra space behind the punter? There's 10 yards. Okay. 11 yards. 12 yards. 12 yards and the ball's away. And we're still zooming out and we still have 10 yards. Right? It's just like, let's give it up. Give up the space. Give up the space so we're not seeing sections of crowd. And we can see the players on the field. I mean, it sounds silly to say it, but that's what we're here to do, is to show the players on the field, right? Okay. That works. Okay. Let's go. Yeah. Yeah, baby. All right. Let's go. It looks so good. Let's just do that. Okay. Okay. All right. I love it when a run's coming towards me. It really makes it pretty easy where you don't have to zoom out with it too much at all. You just allow everybody to fill that frame. Okay, these are go routes going all the way down the field. Okay, of course you're going to need to zoom out with that. That's the one time, right? That, you know, the rest of the time, if it's a run straight up the middle like this play, nope, it's a keep, right? Roll out. All right. Cool. You can see it, right? You can see the quarterback. I always look for the quarterback seems to hold the ball out a whole lot more pronounced just to show the ball, right? Look at that. End crashing down. He did not even, you know, stay with that at all, right? Okay. But once you recognize it, do you want to add another 15 yards behind it, the play? No. No, you don't. Okay. This rollout should go right through here. You really shouldn't even have to move anything about this play. Watch. Yep. Yep. They're right there. He's there. Okay. You should be zooming in at this point. Right? Watch, all of a sudden the quarterback fills this edge and starts coming towards you. Probably a rollout and probably a run if it's wide open and he's got all the space in the world, which he does. All right. Okay. Five yards, both directions. Quarterback, same thing, right? Same idea. Quarterback fills that edge. You see as soon as he hits it. Okay. Clearly, he's got the ball and he's running now, right? But what's the safety doing? Are there any receivers running this direction? Is anybody pressing this edge? No. So zooming out doesn't make a ton of sense at that point. Okay. All right. Now there is a go route, right? Top of the frame. Going. Okay. We're going to keep up with him. We don't have to get that far ahead of it, right? You know, several 10 yards ahead of it. All right. We can keep it tighter. Like this. I've seen this filmer stay tight. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Like this. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Bam. Okay. 6 yards, 4 yards, 10 yards total. 5 and 5, 10 yards total. Very consistent from the beginning to the end of this play. Fantastic. And again, not centering the ball, but allowing this to fill in where you keep, as much of the play as in the shot as possible. Once the ball's away, okay, running up here. I still see this guy instead of seeing the crowd and then just taking this player and putting him right here and seeing everything up above him there. Okay. Nice. Let's do that. Okay. Very consistent from the beginning to the end of that play. All right. So now they go to a single back set. Spread. Receivers. Back. Does the back. All right. Let's just take a look here. Does the back look like he's about to take a handoff? Well, he's parallel to the quarterback, right? Most times the back is going to be at least a step behind if he's going to take a handoff, right? The defensive secondary is, ready for a pass. They're all spread out like this. They're not packing in the box like they normally would if they're expecting a run. Oop, get him to jump off, and of course, he's not. He's blocking, right? And then there's the drop back. Right, so you can just use these little indicators to try to figure out where the ball's going on any given play and see what happens. It's an indicator. It doesn't have to be that way. All right, but if you're anticipating that it's going to be a pass, you can be better prepared to stay tight with it instead of just zooming out and adding another 20 yards, 25. It's just a lot of space, right? It's just a missed opportunity to stay up on this and just be in this range to be able to see as much detail as possible. 75%. Okay. Is seeing to the sidelines important? Is making sure we see all the way to the far sideline important? Okay. If going sideline to sideline is important, then you would also see the sideline at the bottom of the frame. So it's not necessarily a decision to keep sideline to sideline. If you were to do that, I've heard of coaches requesting that. I don't think it's a great plan because you're just missing out on all the detail, right? At that point, you're basically just given up on seeing any amount of detail from your line play or your linebackers. You're not going to see any sort of shade of any kind, right? You know, ugh. I mean, this is full on blimp mode at this point. Okay. So we just zoomed out to see all kinds of space. All right, turn it off. Get rid of it. All right. So much space out here. Okay. If you're keeping all 22 on a run this direction, you're about 60%, 60 to 65%. If you're really kind of honing in on this area, as the play develops, you'd be even tighter than that. Okay. All right. 5 minutes to go in the half. All right. Packers are up 3-0. We're going I. Straight ahead run. Nope. He moved. Okay. All right. I would have expected that to be, lead blocker, follow, play, all right, let's see if he's right. With the possibility of the quarterback, pulling it down, and it's quick toss outside. Okay. Obviously, just recognizing it right away and stopping your zoom. Just as soon as you see it, stop. Okay, it's a run going away from you. Everybody's going to start heading that direction. That's clearly a quarterback keeping the ball to throw it down the field. Okay, looks good. Keeping up with everybody going down the field. All right, single back set does not look like he's in position to take a handoff. Quarterback drop, pulls back and throws it, dishes off to the running back out of the backfield. All right, so let's just say here, okay, got about 10 yards behind the safety. Does he use that edge? Sure. Yeah, still within 10 yards. Okay, now the ball's away. And they stop their zoom and come back in. Okay, that works. Flags everywhere. Not sure what happened. Okay, seemed to be on the offense. So backed him up. All right. I'm sure I could go back and watch because the filmer did a great job of keeping everybody in the shot and allowing me to see what was going on there. If I really wanted to see how they got back to 4th and 30, I could, but I'm not really focused on that. Let the players and coaches figure that out, and then go from there. So, again, just a lot of space behind the returner, a lot of space behind the punter to start. Okay, and basically we just transferred all the extra space behind the punter now to behind the returner, right? He catches the ball at the 16, 17-yard line, and we're seeing to the back of the end zone over here and several sections of the crowd. Okay. I always say that it's very difficult for finding the ball, finding where the ball is going to come down, and maintaining as good of detail as you possibly can during that process. There's a lot of leeway, right? But it's not 30 yards, right? It's not 25 yards behind the returner. It's definitely a challenge. Okay, how much space we got behind? Just check how much space do we have behind the quarterback to start. Okay, we're quarterback's at the 18-yard line, and then we see all the way back to directly behind him, back to the 7-yard line. Okay, so we've got 11 yards behind the quarterback at the start of the play. I'm not expecting the ball to go over his head and go back there. If he does, you could just adjust to that. But I wouldn't account for that on every single play, just leaving an extra 11 yards behind the quarterback with that anticipation. Right? I've seen it happen. I've seen the ball get snapped over a quarterback's head. It happens. right? But as a filmer, well, I can adjust on the fly. Okay, you see it. You see the snap go way over the quarterback's head, and he's starts running backwards immediately. About 80%, 80 to 85% to start. Okay. Okay. That works. That works. Sideline to sideline. Looks good. Okay. Okay. Use the space behind the quarterback. If you've got the space back there, right, have a reason for it. I don't think there's any reason for it, but that's just me, right? But if you're going to have it, maintaining that just to keep an extra 10 yards back there and then have another 10 yards, behind the safety. So you just got an extra 20 yards of football, of grass around the football. But let's get to right here. Okay, 10 yards in both directions. And then that puts, the actual football, not just the grass surrounding it, to right here. 70%. Okay. Okay. Is there anything we can do to cut down the amount of space behind the safety? Okay, safety's here. Is right on the edge to start. Gaining 5 yards, gaining 6 yards, getting 9 yards, gaining 14 yards. Okay. Top to bottom, is there anything we can do here? Let's put it in the box. What would it take to make this happen? And keeping it tight within the frame. About 80%. Okay. Yeah, 20% top to bottom to work with. You can cut it in 10% in each direction. Or 5% would be better, right? Okay. Very good job. Okay, got about 10 yards behind the quarterback. Zooming out to get more space behind the quarterback. Zooming out with this receiver. We're beyond sideline to sideline at this point. Here's the edge sideline here. And then we're up above even the top of the chains, right? Nobody's jumping 30 feet into the air to catch a pass up here. So, the football is here. $70 to 75%. All right, still zooming out from there. Okay. All right. Nice. Awesome. That works. Fourth and 8. Going for it. Okay. Right before halftime. See if we can make a play on it. Looks good. Last play of the half. Probably going to take a knee. Kneeling on it. Awesome. Okay. Kickoff to start the second half. Pretty wide. Okay. Is the ball going out the back of the end zone? No. Do we see out the back of the end zone? Yeah. Okay. Do we continue to see out the back of the end zone? Yeah. Okay. We're tightening up here. Right there. This is good. I like this. Okay. We can preserve this throughout the entire play a whole lot better than what happened here. Good. Run recognition. Awesome. Love it. Okay. Great job of seeing it immediately and stopping. Pulling out just a little bit. Nope, it's a run. Going back in. Okay. I think there was room to just leave it right where it was at just to see. I'm thinking this is not a run. Nope, it is. Keeping it. Okay. Awesome. 3rd and 1. Guess what happens on 3rd and 1? Tight formation. Oh. Looked like they were going to cram it forward, but a little bit of deception. Didn't fool the filmer, though. I like it. That's one of those plays you, as a filmer, you see them practicing against it and be like, okay, we need to watch out for that, right? Okay. All right. So the receiver ran off the left-hand side. We still have space on the right-hand side. Obviously, I want to make sure that that doesn't happen, but it was kind of after the sack had already taken place. Up until that point, it actually looked really good. Still a lot of space behind the punter's start. Still a lot of space behind the returner. Okay, but we'll count that one. Nice. Yes. Okay, there's the rollout coming this way. Don't have to zoom out too much, which they don't. Kept it in relationship the entire time, side to side. Okay. Let's see what happens on this one. Safety going to fill in that space a little bit? Sure does. Okay, but is there any reason to zoom out? Not even a little bit. Nothing. Okay. Zooming out, you're just adding all that extra space in both directions. And, let's just put it in the box. I mean, it's clearly, there's no reason to do that, but if you just see how much space you're actually losing. 40% of your screen. And it's not just 40%, it's 40% on a diagonal. It's 40% only in one direction, right? It's in this direction as well. I mean, do you count that as 80%? I don't know. I'm sure there's a math equation to figure that out. I just know it's not good, right? I know it's not more football. It's more grass around the edge that I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch the grass grow. I don't want to watch the turf do turfy things. I don't know what that is, but what does turf do? It's there. It just exists. I don't know. Either way, I don't want to watch it. I want to watch football. Oh, okay. Whoa. Okay, sideline to sideline. Basically, this is sideline to sideline. Top of the chains, bottom of the sideline here. If they run off the screen here, you can certainly adjust a little bit farther, but there's no reason to go any farther than that. There's no reason to go any higher than this. Still zooming out. Okay. If there's people that are just seriously just pressing, 60 yards down the field, 70 yards, and we're just chucking the ball up, for grabs, yeah, you might have to zoom out that far, but that's not the case here. Okay, our football is here, right? I mean, if the coaches just came to me and said, hey, your job is to pay attention to the football on the field and then to film it. Yes, coach. It's here, right? Okay. Whoa. 4th and 18, we're going to punt that away. All right, not as much space behind the punter this time. That's helpful. Still a lot of space behind the punter. Okay, not as much space behind the returner this time. Okay, right there. I've been saying you don't need 20 yards, 30 yards behind the returner. Here's 7. Decent. And then we drop the punter in this shot. Okay. Punter's gone. Okay. If we're going to do that, let's just do it immediately. As soon as the ball's away. Okay. Give him a couple seconds. Make sure he doesn't get hit. Make sure he doesn't get brutalized back there. But then let's just zoom in and focus on this. Right? Let's go find this returner on this side. And let's just focus right here. And that's 75%. Cut out the other 25% of the crowd and everything else and just look at the field and where the players are on it. Right? If we're going to keep the punter in the shot, I would highly recommend you don't do that. Right? Because the punter's job is to get the ball off and then let the other 21 players on the field do their job. Okay. Is there anything we can do to tighten this up? Well, at the snap of the ball, there's 11 yards behind the safety, right? Very tight formation. Not common that you're going to see, within 5 yards off the line of scrimmage, and no more defenders behind it. But to me that indicates that this is a running situation, and just expecting a run. The defense is expecting a run. If they're expecting this to be a post route, as man-to-man coverage, I would imagine. He's got nobody helping him over there. I don't know. However they want to work that out themselves. But from a filmer's perspective, you don't need to be out this wide to start. And then by doing that, zooming out wouldn't be the right thing to do either, right? So yeah. If I'm filming and I'm before the snap, I'm like, okay, this is a really weird formation, different than I'm used to. I'm just going to stay a little wider. Do that, but use it. Use the extra space. Don't zoom out to gain 15 yards behind your quarterback after he's already released the ball. Really, the ball's the farthest person aside from the quarterback is here at the 27-yard line, and then we see all the way to the end zone. But why? Okay. All right. I want to reiterate how important it is to know how much these people can change direction and very, very quickly. They are elite athletes, and if they see that they're going the opposite direction of where the ball carrier is, they are going to change directions immediately, and they are going to close this gap in a very, very quick manner, right? If they run a 4-4-40, right, you got 1 second, right? They're going to go, and be here. Okay? Right? So they're backing up, balls away, right? As soon as you see those balls away, stop zooming out, and then start to recognize where you can tighten up. All right. Okay. All right. 7 yards behind the quarterback, using it fairly well. Just a lot of zooming out after that. Let's see here. Okay. Safety starts to flatten out almost immediately. Got a lot of space along the top here, but on the whole, not terrible. It's usable. Okay. Coaches can use it to see what they want. 3rd and 1, tight formation. We thinking it's a straight ahead run, or is he going to pull it back and yep, toss. Toss going this way. Okay. It works. Okay, just knowing formations, knowing situations, knowing tendencies, right, goes a long way. And knowing what comes off of those tendencies, what counters that tendency in any given situation, out of any formation, right? I'm looking at this parallel to the quarterback is not usually a good place to hand off. Thinking he's going to pass it. Quick drop back. Great job staying with everybody on that. All right. See if we can identify this. See a little slightly different. He's a step behind now, right? And there's the handoff. Huh. Huh. So if we see the difference between those two plays at the snap, maybe zooming out, immediately doesn't make any sense unless we see that, it is a play action. Is it a play action? I mean, no, right? Like these guys don't do anything, right? They're not making any effort to press vertically up the field. Okay. All right. 12 yards, 11 yards behind the quarterback. Let's see it in here. Yeah. I mean, this is all just empty. Okay. All right. Within 10 yards, both directions. Great run recognition. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, 0 zooming out there. Let's go. Okay. You got the extra space along the edge. Let's do that. Yep. 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 Ooh. Okay. Green Bay knocking on the door. It's, just for context, it's 3-0 right now in the 3rd quarter. Right? So if they can keep them out of the end zone here, it's going to be a huge win for the defense. Yes. And a huge win for the filmer staying in there and staying tight. All right, this is a play action. Nope, it's a handoff. Okay, fantastic, great job. Clearly, I could see, the situation where they're gonna pull it back and throw off of it. Mm-hmm. But they save it for third down instead of second. Okay, makes sense. Great job. All right. So they just went up 2 scores, right? Extra point, perfect framing. Okay, guy came off the edge. What's it going to take for him to get one more step to be able to get his hand on that ball? Coaches can see it. Okay, zooming out. Keeping space behind the kickoff. Not needed, but is decent. Okay. Alright, empty. Motion. Does the ball go to the back now that he's in the backfield? Nope, doesn't look like it. Right, was not in the position to make take a handoff on that. Okay, but what do we do with that information, right? Well, if we're expecting a pass, we expect a drop back 7 to 12 to 15 yards. No, we're going to expect 1 to 2 step drop, or maybe he does take a full drop and he ends up back here at the 15-yard line. Okay, so you can cut that down right there. All right, 5 yards, and nobody goes beyond the 15. Nobody goes beyond the 14, the 16-yard line, right? And so that's where you can use that information to your advantage. All right. And then what does that do for your framing, right? Well, we've got an extra 12 yards behind the safety. We've got an extra whatever, how many yards there to the sideline, right? And then an extra 10 yards still behind the quarterback. So we got 3 sides have all this extra space. And at the same time, I can't see what number player this is. All right. Okay, safety touches that edge within just a few yards. Quarterback still had space behind him, but they used it all really well on that play. All right, there we go. Filmer seems to really like tighter formations directly in front of him. Seems to do really well with them. Okay, that works. Okay. I've noticed that about this. Anytime the formation's directly in front of you, tight setup, straight ahead run, seems to do really well. Okay, let's do that all game long. And it's true because the angle, the direction that they're heading, the angle, the way that the receiver is going, upfield, downfield, away from you, towards you, it changes everything about the angle of your filming. It's the angle's always still going to be a rectangle, right? But the receivers, to the corner, to this close sideline as opposed to the far sideline, makes a difference, right? In how you're going to respond to what happens on that play. I love that we saw where that ball landed and then bounced into the end zone. Okay, and then the question is, can we get somebody there to stop that? What's it going to take for a little more hang time to be able to see that? For one of the defenders to get down there and stop the ball from going into the end zone, right? We can see all that, and that works. Looks good. Okay. 1 second left to go in the third quarter. About to hit the fourth quarter. 10-0. Green Bay. Okay. Using the space well. Still keeping a lot of space behind the quarterback. But that works. Okay. 4th and 12 to start the fourth quarter. Punting. Okay. Alright. Now we're back to zooming out to see the back of the end zone and all the crowd. Okay. Just to put in perspective, if we don't keep the punter in the shot, let's just start there. Okay. If we were there, which I would recommend, you'd be at 60%, right? If you do keep the punter in the shot, you're still only at 75 to 80%. Okay? So, having all that space behind the returner is not necessary. Alright. Having all the space behind the running back is not necessary. But run recognition was excellent on that. Okay. Sideline to sideline. Okay. When I say top to bottom, sideline to sideline, this is what I mean, right? You got outs in both directions, so they're right on the edge. You know, quarterback can throw it here, can throw it here to the sideline. You'll see that in 2-minute drills a lot, you know, trying to get, the ball to the sideline so they can catch the ball and step out of bounds. Stop the clock, right? But here, you know, they go to the top of the chains, right? Not much farther than that. And then just to the bottom, to the sideline. Makes a ton of sense, right? You can tighten it up from there, but what they did was decent. Limiting the amount of zoom that you put on that once you hit the sidelines. 3rd and 1, straight ahead. Nope, pulling it back. Play action, rolling out, and chucking the ball down the field. No. Didn't get it. Okay. But great job. Okay. And that's what I mean, right? The tendency is that they're going to run straight ahead. Not this time. And the filmer stayed with it and kept it all in there. Did they get it on that 4th and 1? I don't know. Yes, they did. Okay. Filmer saw it. You know, did a great job. Okay. Still keeping a lot of space behind the quarterback, but using the space behind the safety really well. Okay. Okay. Running back to the other side. Doesn't look like he's in position to take the handoff, so we're expecting a pass. Go routes up the sideline. Oh my goodness. Let's go. What a catch. I love it. Absolutely love it. But not going to happen with all the flags. Empty. No running back to handoff to. Obviously a passing down, right? And obviously a passing situation when you're down 2 scores in the 4th quarter, right? So, I like it. Okay. Still got that space behind there. Now they're using it. Okay, sideline to sideline. Still got a lot of extra space, but coaches are able to see what happened on that play. Oh, they've got a punt. Okay. So, again, all that space behind the punter is never going to get used. Straight up. There it is. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, what did I say last punt? If we could figure out a way to down the ball at the 1 yard line? Yes. Okay. A lot of space to the back of the end zone over here on the left-hand side. Okay. Nothing's happening over there. Alright, let's just... Okay. Alright, so 3rd and 8, backed up on your goal line. Is it a run? No, probably not. Okay. Run's not going to get you much unless you just completely resign from getting a first down on this. So you're expecting a pass. Okay. This receiver is vacating this space. That means this entire side can come right to the back of the quarterback or to anybody looping around to get to the quarterback, which is there. Okay. So zooming out to see the goalpost doesn't make any sense. We've got extra space here on the backside of the safety. And then we're gaining more space, gaining more space, gaining more space across the top. Can this be tighter to there? 70%. It can be 30% better. It can be 25% better and be really, really great. Right? I'll take 95%. That's A plus, range. 70% is like C. Okay, this looks good. 2nd and 11. Okay, 5 yards both directions. Oh, okay. All right, behind the safety. All right, if we're, this safety's crashing forward. This corner is going to be, moving this direction. Okay, so he becomes the farthest person. 15 yards, behind the defense. About 80%. Okay. And then zooming out from there. Okay. To see all this, right? To see all this. And the referee and the sky cam and then the other referee behind the quarterback. Okay. Let's tighten that up and get much better footage for our team, so they can see what they're doing. I want to see what this player is doing. Okay, this was my position. Love it. Okay. Fourth and 11. Punting. Ball's away. Dropping the punter. Okay. All right. So if you're going to drop the punter, cut it over. Okay. Bring it on in. There's the ball on this side. Okay. There's the farthest guy on this side. That works. Nope. Not quite. Okay. Yes. Ooh. buddy. Look at that. Okay. Let's just go to that point. Safety. Right where the safety puts his foot in the ground and changes direction. Right. We still got some space behind the quarterback there. But the safety is changing direction at this point, and he's right there on the edge. Okay. Yeah, but, why is the safety changing direction? Because it's a run, right? Because it's clearly a run. If you're going to keep the quarterback in the shot to make sure if he's rolling out this way, you can do that, but, don't show another 7 yards behind him just for that reason. And then don't continue to zoom out to show extra space so you can see the referee and the sky cam behind it. All right. But that's first down. Okay. Let's keep the ball moving. You're going to need 2 scores. You're going to need to make something of this drive. And there it is. Let's go. Busting it loose. Love it. Fantastic. All right. He's pumped. Number 10. Great job, Filmer. Okay. Okay. All right. Just the mentality, right? You got space. You got space here. You got space here. You got space here. You got space here. Okay. Motion up into this space. Okay. Good thing we got space up there. We don't really need to change anything. Well, if you're zooming out, okay, now that does add more space. If the safety really starts to crash back here, you'd want to zoom out to keep him in. But he's not really doing that either, right? And so here we're wider than we could have been, right? And then zooming out from there, now we're wide again. Okay. Just the expectation that we're just going to zoom out all the time is not a great plan. Less than 70%. I've filmed enough games to know that you don't always have to zoom out. And it all depends on what's going on the field. Oh, let's go. And we need to see what's going on the field. That's our job. That's our primary role for our football team, is to show the players and the coaches what's going on the field. We can do that if we're doing the right things every step along the way. Okay? And we can do a better job of it every step along the way because there's no one stopping us from doing it. All we need to do is to hone it in and do it even better the next time. Every single play. Okay? Right there. From the beginning of this play to here. Okay? Motion. Right there. Nothing changed, right? There was no change. Nothing. Okay? That's what I'm talking about. Oh, there's motion? Oh, didn't even notice. Didn't matter, right? We got space. Okay, we still got space behind the quarterback. We can cut that down. Are they going to? Yeah. Let them use it. Okay? And then let's move this direction. Let's see all this. Okay? If somebody does run to the corner of the end zone, we've got that in the shot. We don't have to zoom out any farther than that. If this guy is going to this quarter of the end zone, we are going to have to zoom out for that. But let's just see what happens. Pretty close. Okay? All right? Still within 10 yards in both directions. I like it. Okay? That'll work. Coaches can use that. Always want to be tighter, right? I always want to preserve even more detail for the coaches to be able to see what they're doing, for the players to be able to see what they're doing, and the coaches to be able to see, all right, I'm thinking this is a pass. Yep. Again, just that indicator of the running back being in a slightly different position, parallel to the quarterback makes it a little more difficult unless he's coming this direction, right? And if he is, even more reason for you to just stay in there. You got all this extra space up here. Let's see if we can use it. That works. Okay, that works. Okay. Okay, top to bottom. Needed to stay out that wide in order to make sure you keep everybody in the shot. Okay, got space behind the offense. Should have enough space. Okay. You already got space behind the offense. Moving left to right just because there's motion doesn't make any sense. Okay. Okay, you can see here, takes all of us, right? I see the T and takes all of us. And then by the time we get to the snap, I see the K, right? We lost 2 letters of it takes all of us. I wanted to see I want to see more of this. I want to see it, you know. And then almost nothing behind the offense because they're going this direction. I have supreme confidence in the Browns offense to move forward on the goal line. In the red zone, I know that they can do it. I've seen them do it, and I want them to do it. And I certainly am not going to expect Joe Flacco to be running back here. Okay? Okay. We're just starting out so wide here. All right. Where could we be? Okay. We're at 80% already. We're already seeing to the crowd on this side. We're already seeing 12 yards behind the quarterback. Okay. And then zooming out. And then zooming out. And then still zooming out. Okay. Once we get to this point, we started at 80% and then zoomed out from there. Guess what happens? Was it a ton of zooming out? No, but it put you to 60. Doubled the amount of grass that you saw on this play. And not just grass, but crowd as well. Okay, let's see it. Zooming out. But why? We already saw to the far corner. You could leave it right here, right? You can move this over to see this corner. If we cut this down, we'd see corner to corner of the end zone. Nothing's going to take place outside of that. That would be a fine result. I'd love to be able to get it tighter, but just expecting that we could have receivers going to both corners. I'm fine with that. Okay. All right. Now we're tight. Tight formation. Let's tighten up. Get right up in there. 5 yards both directions. If you're going to have a little extra space, have it on the end zone side. Okay. That works. Okay. All right. Just knocking on the door. Let's see what happens. Straight ahead. I formation. Follow. Lead blocker. Went outside on it. Okay. That works. There's a flag, though. Oh, the flag. Oh, puts me into a passing situation now. Okay. Man. All this extra. It's so extra. Okay. Okay. 3rd and 20. That's a passing down, right? Got to get in the end zone. Or they don't, okay? They're down 10 points. They can just put it into field goal range and pick up the touchdown on the next time down, right? So we've got guys all the way to this edge. This guy is about to run off this edge while we've got an extra 7 yards behind the offense, right? I think it would make a ton of sense to cut this down and keep this guy in the shot. Right? Pretty inconsequential at that point, but you can just kind of see where that makes sense. Okay? 4th and 17. Kicking the field goal. Whoa. Okay. I think there was concern that it might have been a fake from the defensive side, right? It looked like they were trying to get people back off the line a little bit. Okay. Got extra space behind the kicker, but really overall was a pretty good result. And a flag on the field. Okay. I could go back and see exactly where that flag came from. Block in the back or hold or something like that, right? All right. Okay. Now the reasons I've said before as to why you would want to zoom out, go routes, safety drop back, okay, none of that's happening here. The reasons I would say you wouldn't want to zoom out is to show the crowd and the wall on the far side. Okay. This is pretty wide to start, well, almost 8 or 9 yards in both directions. Okay. With the safety crashing on this immediately. Now, situationally, you can say, okay, the Green Bay's up 1 touchdown. There's 3 minutes to go in the game, and they are trying to take time off the clock, right? So they're going to keep the ball on the ground and not go to the end, not go to the sideline, right? Great job of staying in the field of play in this situation to keep the clock running. Okay, going to use up the other team's timeouts and or time left on the clock. Okay. Same thing here. They ran the same play in 2 different directions. One to the far side, one to the near side. Okay. But not as much zooming out on this one. Saw the play come in this direction. Okay, now we're in 3rd down. Oh! Did that just happen? Oh my goodness. What a play. Fantastic job, filmer, of seeing this happening. Okay. Yes. I saw it. Look at that. Okay, stops immediately, comes back in. Oh, that's our ball. Let's go. Bump, bump, bump. Down to the 4-yard line. Let's go. Awesome. Awesome job. All right, what's happening here? 1 play to the end zone. Let's see it. Getting your feet tangled up. Down to the 1. Straight ahead. In. Dun 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 dun. Let's go. Sweet. Oh man, this filmer's got to be jacked. 10-10. Okay. Woo, buddy. I mean, just in the last 2 minutes, they scored 10 points to tie it up after not crossing the goal line or getting a score at all through the entire first 3.5, quarters. All right, kick off. Looks great. Okay. This filmer's in the zone now. He's like, our team just made some things happen. Let's go. Let's finish it. If my team can do that, I can do this. Here we go. Right on it. Awesome. Okay. Flags come in. Okay. Pulls it back. We'll dish off. Alright. So, widest point right here. Okay. Got an extra 15 yards. Okay. That's extra. Okay. If you're going to say that we can keep an extra 10 yards in either direction just for safety's sake, then 15 is too much. All right. 2 minutes. Awesome. Great job of run recognition. Excellent work. Saw all of it. All right. It's just a matter of time before they kick the field goal to go up right at the end of the game, right? Let's see what happens. Okay. All right. Run recognition. Okay. Situational awareness. Less than 2 minutes to go in the game. They're just trying to move the ball, milk the clock, and kick the field goal. Right? So, figuring it's a run, obviously this formation has no receiver threats going down the field. They certainly can break out into that, but I'm not seeing it. Okay, it's a run all day long. So right here, at this point, in this space, you're less than 70% to start, the run. See what happens. Zooming out. Okay. You could just leave it and allow that 70% to grow as the ball's coming towards you. But to zoom out to get extra space doesn't make any sense. Okay. Run straight ahead. Oh, no play. False start. Backing it up. That's kind of big. Kind of a big deal when you're trying to kick a field goal. Whoa. Cleveland rocks. All right. A lot of extra space every direction and then zooming out from there. Fourth and 13. Game's on the line. Filmer's got it honed in. Let's go! Pick it up! Let's go! Great job. That's what I'm talking about. Stay in there tight. If it turns into chaos, make that adjustment on the fly, in the moment. Fantastic. Offsides. False start. Where is it at? Who's got it? On the defense. Moving the ball. Wow. Okay, sideline to sideline. Like I said, 2-minute drill. They're trying to get the ball to the sideline and then, catch it and get out of bounds. 2nd and 2. Yes. Okay. All right. I like it. They did a really great job there. Okay. Obviously, you want to try to get some yards here. Get the points on the board before time expires. Okay. But what can we do to stay tight on this? Right? Is anybody running deep? Not even close. Okay. 5-yard ins. Okay. Just trying to get some yardage and then stop the clock with 3 seconds to go. Just trying to get a little extra. There's the spike. Okay. That'll work. 2 seconds to go on the clock. Field goal unit on the field. Kick is away. I'm gonna say it must have been good. 13-10. Browns win the game. Holy moly. What a game to pick for this grading. Fantastic. Obviously, I'm more interested in what the filmer did, and the filmer showed me everything that happened in this game so that I could watch and see an amazing end. Wow. 13 unanswered points in the last 5 minutes. Fantastic. Great job, filmer, for allowing me to see that and allowing anybody watching it to enjoy it. Obviously, of course, this is an amazing film session on a Monday morning, right? To come into the office and start to watch film, see what happened, and there's things that you can do to show even more of what's happening on the field, and the players need that in order to improve, and they can appreciate that that this game goes down in Browns lore forever. Fantastic, and that they got to be a part of it. All right, let's just break it down here. Out of 154 plays, 114 were positive. That's a score of 74%. Bonus, 29% was excellent. There's always room to tighten up and always room to get even more detail. But in this case, there's plenty of opportunity to do that. That gives you a score after the bonus, 76.88% on the day. So great job. Looking forward to 2026. Continue to make improvements. Continue to help your team. This is Cameraman Grades.